Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of SuperFantaFi. This being a show where I talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm gonna talk about Fallout Season 1, Episode 2. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, we get our proper introduction to Michael Emerson's character, Wilzog, who part of some scientific, we don't know what he's a part of, what their goal is, but basically he was a scientist working somewhere where it's like, oh, these like dogs were born and it's like, oh, they're less than 10 pounds, throw him in the incinerator. It's like, Jesus. And him fudging the numbers for his dog CX404, and it's kind of adorable how he's kind of kept it low key. He's kept the dog hidden, raised it, and trained it, and it's actually a really beautiful relationship. Because, you know, from the time frame where we saw him spending time with his dog, we never saw him interact with the other scientists. I mean, I'm sure he had to keep stuff very low key to make sure this dog survived, because if it didn't, it'd be seen as like a mistake. And it's like, once again, we don't know. We see they're breeding the dogs for something, but we don't know for what purpose and what that whole organization he was a part of was about. But it seemed like he didn't really have anyone other than his work and the dog. And it didn't seem, I mean, who knows if that environment really warranted, like, oh, let's be friendly and friends with we were hanging out with the coworkers. It might not be that type of environment, but it's just in that little time frame we got to skip around over that time frame as his dog is getting bigger. Like, we never really saw him interact with anyone else. He just kept to himself. He injected himself with something. So I guess that's tied into why he's being hunted. There's something literally inside of his head that other people want. But yeah, he basically escaped the moment word got out about, like, one scientist saw his dog and was about to report him and did, but he managed to escape. Avoided a Gatling gun, which was like firing bullets ripping through everything. So we have that, and he ties into kind of what is, I think, the overarching mystery and element of the overarching show, considering like everyone's after him. Like, the Brotherhood is after him, and so is Cooper. The Ghoul is after him. So Lucy finds out later on that she should be after him too, but we'll get to that in a second. We'll get to that later. Speaking of Lucy, she's kind of wandering around, kind of seeing like, wow, like the world as it was, and it's like, yeah, like your eyes are open. It's just because Lucy's got that very G. Willikers, like, you know, approach to life of like, oh yeah, you're so innocent, and you kind of you've heard tales about the surface, but now you're seeing it for yourself. She came across like the skeletons of a dilapidated house and like people inside, and it looked like that was a bottle of poison on the table. It was like Vault Tech poison, and it's like, did that family kill themselves? Because it might have been like, oh, we know this is coming, so let's kind of take ourselves out before like the bomb hits, type, you know, before, you know, the fallout of everything. So kind of like the brash and harsh reality of like what the surface was like. That it is because this episode was a real eye-opener for Lucy in a lot of ways, especially when she runs into Mama June later in the episode, or Mama June, because she's like, right, we vault dwellers, it's like, who are you to come up here and be like, oh my god, we're going to save you? It's like, oh, I thought all you dipshit vault dwellers were dead. I can't believe you're still alive. But it's like, yeah, you get to come up here and say you're going to save the world. You're going to save America. It's like, you guys got to hide away. Like, that wasn't, the vaults weren't for everyone else. They were for the rich and powerful who got to protect themselves, while the rest of us had to stay up here and find a way to survive. And you got to enjoy that coziness for generation upon generation. And now you're going to come back and, oh, save us surface dwellers from ourselves. Like, the harsh reality that is all of this. It's like, yeah, like, kind of, you know, from Mama June's perspective, it's like, get the fuck out of here with that BS. You know, it's like, who are you to try and save us? You don't know us. You haven't experienced us. You've lived like such a cozy life. And to some extent, I think she knew, but it was a real rude awakening for Lucy of like, right, like, you thought like, oh, you vault dwellers would be welcome with open arms. We hate you. In fact, we would most likely shoot and kill you because you're not welcomed and you're not liked, because you kind of come here with your superiority complex, which, you know, Lucy, whether she realized it or not, was kind of like, you know, raised to believe like, oh my god, we're going to go to the surface. Eventually, no, like, my child will go to the surface. My child's generation will be the one to be able to go to the surface, and just everything she's been fed and told. And now it's like, okay, you get the cool enjoyment out of like, oh, getting to experience what you got to experience, but also seeing the harsh reality of, yeah, like, you decided to go on this adventure, but you're not ready for it. Because even Wilzog, like, him and his dog came across Lucy when she was resting. It's like, right, you shouldn't be lighting fires because you're going to draw creatures like the fucking massive cockroach that his dog started ripping into. It's like, yeah, that thing is designed to hunt prey like you and be able to chew you up and spit you out type of situation. And it's like, you might as well go back home, because either the only way you're going to survive in this world is if you learn to adapt, because if you don't, you're done. But it also becomes that thing of, but if you do learn to adapt, the question is, will you even be the same person when it's all said and done? And will you still want the same things? You know, how much will this world change you? If you try to survive here, you'll have to change. And in the process of changing, how much of who you were is still going to be the same anymore? You know, that's a very powerful and poignant question to ask in that situation. To like, it's what you're after, which in her case is her dad. Is it worth like losing all of who you are and what you'll have to become in the process just to survive? Will it be worth it in the end? So I also love her run in with that farmer who was like, oh, like he's like, yeah, I got this water filter, but like no matter how much sand I put in it, I just get out sand. She's like, well, how about you try and put water in it? He's like, I guess that's supposed to be like the Fallout version of a redneck, I guess, in a lot of ways. Like, but what I thought was so interesting was she like gave him some water, and he's like, oh, I appreciate it. I do love that she strode up with like the gun pointed, and he's like, I don't got any weapons, and she's like, oh, I'm just asking for directions, and he's like, cool. He's like, but he's like, yeah, if you want to go to, you could go to Philly over there. But he's like, I've never been. She's like, you haven't? You live here? He's like, yeah, I'm just kind of running this place. It's like, my dad went there and died. Had some siblings go there and die. Had an aunt that went there and died. You know, and it's like, yeah, but, you know, I've got all this. And he's like, you know, if you want to, like, it's such a dangerous place. You could stay here with me. And he's like, you could have all of this. And she's like, no, I'm good. He's like, are you sure? He's like, I'm sick. I'm dying. The fact of the matter is, this could all be yours. You wouldn't have to put up with me for too long, which I love that. And also that line of, he's like, well, thank you for not shooting me. And she's like, yeah, that was really no problem. Not, you know, it's like, wow, that's sad. It's like, yeah, thank you for not shooting me, even though you had the opportunity to. It's like, I doubt she's going to run into that farmer again, but it's just like out in the desert doing this thing. But yeah, she gets to Frilly, and that I'm gonna stop there just because this is where all the stories kind of converge. I wasn't expecting everything to. I mean, obviously they're all like, all the stories are connected, but once again we got the three different perspectives, and it's so interesting to see it like converge so early on in the show, which I wasn't expecting. I thought it'd be kind of later in the show when everything kind of converged. Like a more recent example, like a la Stranger Things, where like everyone's separated for most of the season, and then we like all come together near the end. It's probably going to be something similar to that. Like, hey, all three of our main characters, kind of pseudo main characters, basically, I think they're kind of our main characters. All three of them get together, and then like they end up their separate ways, and it probably won't be till near the end of the season when they fully converge again. But either way. So we'll kind of stop there for now and circle over to Maximus's story, where, you know, he's trying to talk to his lord, Titus, but he's like, nah, I'm not paying attention to what you have to say. He's like, yeah, oh yeah, you got this particular piece of equipment on your armor, yada yada. And he's just like, yo, takes off his cod piece and just like hands it to him. It's like, yo, wash that. It's like, so very dismissive. I don't know whether it's like every squire gets that treatment, which is a strong possibility, or is it just because, like, you know, Maximus was kind of like a last minute decision, so it's like, you don't really deserve to be here. I think all squires probably get that treatment. But yeah, Titus was like, yo, let's drop off somewhere. I'm going to go kill some things. I'm bored. It's like, no, but we should be heading this direction. Shut up and let's go. So then they run into the radiated bear, which Wilzog and his dog were just there earlier because his dog found like a severed arm in the cave. They go there, and Titus is like, cool, go in there. And I love Maximus like, but you're the one in the armor. He's like, yes, but to work your way up to eventually get armor like this takes acts of bravery. This is an opportunity to be brave. It's like, yeah, cool. It is kind of sucky. It's like, homie, like, be fair. Like, obviously you don't want to present yourself as afraid. You were supposed to present yourself as strong and fearless, but it's also like, right, he's meant to be a sacrificial lamb. You know, you kind of put him in a better position because he didn't get attacked by the radiated bear, which like tossed you around and slashed you up, and he's screaming, oh, fuck, as he's running for his life. I was like, wow. I was like, kind of hoping. I was like, wow, you are going to get it. I mean, you seem to be like the biggest tool bag anyway, so who cares? But I think it's also Maximus was afraid, so he was reluctant to kind of quickly pull the trigger, because it might be the first time he's ever killed anyone or anything. But he ended up killing the radiated bear. I thought it would have taken more than just a shot to the head, but But yeah, the moment the mask came off the armor, I was looking at the person, I was like, is that fucking, yes it is. I was like, that's fucking Michael Rappaport. Holy shit. Because I was so curious if we were going to see like who Titus really is. I was like, are we going to find out who he is? I said, yeah, he's just a scared dude being like, oh man, this is all BS. The cleric's sending us out on missions. He's like, all the missions I've gone out, sacrificed myself for a toaster. He's like, do you even know what a toaster is? Because they're supposed to be getting like these ancient artifacts from the world. And it's like, yeah, it's supposed to be that funny reality of like, oh yeah, this is something, yeah, this thing we were meant to go looking for. Oh, it ended up just being a damn toaster. Meaning there's so many like artifacts and things that they grab which are just like, no, they're nothing. They mean nothing. It's like, oh, like all of this history's been kind of forgotten because it's like, oh, what does this toaster do? And it's like, yeah, it makes toast. That's the only purpose it serves, But he's out there talking mad shit about Maximus. So like, yeah, you suck and this and that. Because for Maximus, he has his idea. Like, he's never been around. Like, because he's had his idea of like, right, I want to become a knight myself. And because he knows what they represent. It's like, yeah, the knight that saved me and found me all those years ago when I was younger. But it's like, yeah, he has his idealism of who they are. And I think that might be a part of his journey is finding out, yeah, the Brotherhood still might not be what you think they are. And it's like, yeah, Titus is an example of, but he might look at it as more like, well, Titus is the exception, not the example. It's like, right, he's a tool bag, but the others aren't like that. It's like, well, they can be. Maybe they are. You've had such a naive and optimistic I mean, maybe that's also supposed to be some kind of interesting parallel between him and Lucy's story, where it's like they both are like naive about certain things and their values are so skewed because of the life they've led. And in Lucy's case, what she's grown up knowing in the vault versus like Maximus, who's like, yeah, he's known the cruelty of this world, but he's latched onto the Brotherhood, which are these people who, yeah, he's seen the scary side of them, but it's like, it's all about loyalty and what you're willing to do. But it's also like, yeah, it's essentially a cult. And it's like, it's when it's all that you've known for a good chunk of your life, because you've been alone since you were a kid and you were saved by the Brotherhood, that, and you'd idolize and look at like the knights and their armor as something to be praised. And obviously it's the goal he has. And so he feels like he's someone that is more befitting of that than someone like Titus. So he leaves Titus to die and then snatches the armor for himself, which seems like he's having fun with it, testing it out. He busts up a dispute between two people, and the guy's like, yeah, I'm sorry I tried to kill that guy, but it's just like, he was fucking my chickens. And it's just like, wait, what? Which we run into the chicken fucker later on in the episode too. So it's like, Jesus, guy, that's insane. Because I thought like, oh, maybe the guy tried to rob you or something. It's like, nah, I wasn't expecting the line of, he was fucking my chickens. Wasn't expecting that, but okay. It's just, once again, let you know how fucking weird this world. Once again, like, I've never played the Fallout games, so I never really knew like the tone and vibe. I picked up some stuff here and there about like how like wacky, like it can be serious, but also like the world of Fallout can be extremely like wacky and crazy, But either way, this is where we have our stories converge, because Lucy ends up running into Wilzag again. Because she was there looking for Maldaver, but June immediately shut that down, being like, nah, I'm not about to have this conversation with you, skedaddle. And it turns out Wilzag also knows where she's from. In fact, he even, before he dies at the end of the episode, even says her last name, meaning he knows exactly who she is. Makes sense, because apparently the person he's meant to be meeting up with is Mama June's client, Maldaver. So it's like, so she kidnapped Lucy's dad, so he must know, because he knows enough about the vaults. He's like, oh, you're from Vault 33, so you mean you grow corn. So you're like, is he a former vault dweller himself in some capacity? Like, once again, it seemed like the vaults know of each other to some extent, but they've always lived separate lives until like, when it 30, was it 32 and 33 that came together? Was it 33 and 34? I think it was 32. Whatever the case may be. The one Maldelver was kind of supposed to be from, but really they'd killed everyone else and was pretending to be them, so. But yeah, the moment, because Cooper was already there waiting, and he ends up being like, yeah, I'm gonna take that guy. There's a nice bounty after him. It's like, in fact, there are actually 6 different agencies that want you, so it could be a bidding war. And then immediately shot and blew up. This is the episode of, once again, like I'd heard, because I only watched one of the episodes so far. I was like, oh, it's pretty bloody and violent in the first episode, but it's like, yeah, we about to blow people up this episode. Like, clean blew up his leg. Then, like, there's that one dude who got shot through the chest, and then the other guy behind him had half of his head blown up. I was like, Jesus Christ. Because I've seen some of the combat from the, God, I don't know what that mode is called. I don't know if that's like a later Fallout mechanic. The whole, like, being able to, it's, God, what is it? It's something like Red Dead Redemption. It's almost like a bullet time. It's not, I don't know if that's bullet time type of thing, where, like, because you can aim for certain body parts and stuff like that in the Fallout games. God, what game was it? Was it Gun, or was it Red Dead Redemption? It kind of has, like, the bullet time thing where, like, you can, like, rapid fire, like, if you focus. Like, I feel like the Fallout games have something like that, but I don't know if that's, like, a later Fallout thing, or early Fallouts also have that as well. Because I think in my head, I think Fallout 4, but, like, maybe that's a New Vegas thing too. You know what I mean? So once again, you're talking to someone who knows next to nothing about this franchise. So this is kind of my introduction. But it's like blowing up body parts. I was also curious, like, how does the ghoul situation work? Like, well, I mean, you can sedate him and put him underground, but he's taking bullets. I even love he's eating some cherry tomatoes, and he's like, oh, I'd offer you one, but you got that bullet wound in your neck, and just the entire time doing he is a cowboy and just spitting out the tomatoes while he's shooting people, you know? So it's like, I'm curious, like, what would kill him? Would a headshot kill him? Would decapitating kill him? Or what, you know? Because it seems like he's saying damage, but it doesn't stop him. He just keeps going. He keeps trudging along. So the convergence of all the storylines with Maximus shows up, because Lucy was like, right, I'm going to do the right thing. And she's like, hey, please don't do this. Everyone can tell, like, I'm not the aggressor here. You are. So please just walk away, and I'm not going to let you take this guy with you. And Maximus shows up, and they duke it out. But it's like, right, you're in yeah, you got all the offense and stuff, and yeah, you tested out the suit, but you don't know enough about its inner workings to win this fight. So yeah, you could toss around the goal, beat him up, but he knows enough to know. I guess he's had run-ins with the Brotherhood of Steel enough to know, like, he knew exactly what valve to like what to cut to kind of like malfunction the suit a little. So he's like, yeah, you haven't read the manual. Like, you're like, yeah, you got some spunk in you, kid, but it's not that. You don't want this fight. He also did the most evil thing you can do. He stabbed a dog. You know, because CX404, I was like, that's such a bummer. It seemed like that dog was going to be around. Luckily, they gave luckily, Coop ended up saving the dog's life. I'm sure it's a twofold thing of, oh, like, you know, it's like, right, you're a dog and you're suffering. Like, all right, I'm going to help you out. But also, you're going to lead me straight to your master, because eventually you're going to get on his trail and try and find him again. So so I think I wasn't expecting that pairing, because I thought, like, CX404 was going to be with Wilzog the entire time. But it's like, no, he's going to be Cooper's companion, which I think is going to be a nice thing for him. That probably will be part of his story too, of he hasn't had anyone by his side in a long time. And maybe the show will probably cover this too, but we don't know Coop's story from, you know, he's been around for, wasn't it like 150 years or something like that? Obviously he's been around longer, just because, like, I forgot, like, because it's been like 200 and some years, but he's been around that long. And, you know, what happened with him, and like last time we saw him was like the beginning of the first episode, where we saw him running away from his daughter from, like, the mushroom cloud explosion that was coming their way. So there's so much story to fill in there. And, you know, he probably's been alone for so long, you know. Why is he still around, but his little girl isn't? And maybe she was, but he put her down out of mercy. You know, there's so much we don't know, but, like, he has a companion in this journey. And you know, maybe it's going to be like, right, he once was a man with a beating heart, and that heart's been dead for so long now that maybe he's going to start to live and feel again. Seems like that might be where that story goes, but we'll have to wait to see. But yeah, also Wilzog got a new leg. I thought, like, oh my god, like, when they put the thing on him, I was like, okay, it looked like it's just going to grind up his leg, right? How is that? Because I thought, like, oh, is it going to, like DNA replicate a foot form? It's like, no, it just becomes like a mechanical foot form. It's like, I wasn't expecting, like I said, like it looked like it was sharp on the inside, like it was going to grind you up. It's like, oh, it kind of has to, I guess, embed into your skin and morph into like being a foot, like it has to really, it's a mechanical prosthetic. And so Lucy is going to be taking him to said client Moldaver, and it's like, right, this is the only way you're going to get to your dad. And it's like, oh, don't worry, I believe you can do this. You vault people all about doing the good thing and promising, and you're going to do the right thing, and this is all going to work out. She's like, you really believe that? She's like, yeah, maybe, oh God, maybe this will work. I don't know. You're like my only last resort. So yeah, they end up managing to escape. And partway through the journey, Wilzog was like, yeah, this is as far as I can go. It's like, she's like, no, you can keep going. Like, come on, we can. And trying to be positive. And it's like, no, I mean, literally, this is as far as I go because I just took some cyanide pills. I was like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? And he's like, you don't need all of me. You just need my head. So it's like, right, this is your way to get your dad. And, I wanted to make it a little easier, less painless. So it's like, hey, here's this, like, chainsaw you need to use to, like, slice my head off. And it's like, right, you need to do this. Once again, it's the only means of getting your dad. And, you could be the one to help save the future. Whatever that entails, whatever knowledge that Wilzog has. And proceeds to die. So Lucy has no choice. As we cut to the credits, she's slicing that head off. So yeah, never thought she would have had to do something like that. But once again, we're already at the stage of doing stuff you never thought possible for the sake of completing your mission, for seeing this through. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see where the next episode takes us going forward with all of this. Like I said, it's probably going to be a while before our characters like fully converge again. But Maximus, will probably go after Lucy because he kind of has to, because Titus died, and even Titus being like, oh yeah, they'll kill you for this. They'll string you up by your liver and your lungs and stuff. So no, it's not your liver. It was definitely your lungs. They'll string you up by that. So yeah, you're done. But he's like, yeah, but if I come back with the target, then it's all good. All will be forgiven. So he's extra motivated of, yeah, that was that. And obviously the goal is after his bounty. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens next. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.